In 2015, the North Dakota Legislature, Department of Agriculture, and their corporate allies quietly rolled back anti-corporate farming laws that had been serving North Dakotans well since 1932. If allowed into our state, corporate-owned hog and dairy confined animal feeding operations, CAFOs, will locate with little regard to nearby neighbors and cause proven widespread impact to the health of people and the environment. Dakota Resource Council members joined with the North Dakota Farmers Union and other allies to gather the 20,000 signatures needed to refer these changes to the ballot box. North Dakota voters rejected corporate farming on June 14, 2016 by a 3-to-1 margin, 75.7% to 24.3%. Measure 1 was defeated in all 53 North Dakota counties, but the fight is not over.
A traditional family farm has always been a way of life as well as a way to make a living.
This is my mom and dad's place. I've lived here 64 years, actually longer than what my mom and dad did. We earn our living off of this farm. I mean, that's what we do.
Family farmer is the one that is going to live in the community and going to do the work, and the money is going to stay in the area, and just being a good neighbor. These corporate deals, they're going to come in and snatch up the good property, and drive up the rent prices and everything else, and it's just, I don't see where it's going to help the average young farmer get started.
Our community is a small community. It was good to have the children go to school in a small school. Just life in general out in the country, it's a good place to raise kids, and we have a few neighbors that we get along with, and it's easy to work with them, buy feed for cows or whatever, to work together. It's nice.
They're trying to sneak in the back door on this with this so-called family farms. That's not my idea of a family farm. When you got outside money coming in with deep pockets and throw money around. And I think most people out here my age, and even some of the younger ones, family farm, that's their way of life, and we don't want to see that destroyed.
I think it's the beginning of a new era for the family farm values. And when I talk about the new era and the future of family farm values, I'm not talking about going back to agriculture the way it was when I was a kid, not going back to the hard work and drudgery and this sort of thing, but going back to those fundamental principles of family farming. Family farming is a way of life. It's multifunctional. It's about making an economic living, but it's also a responsibility to be a responsible member of a community and to support the community and to take care of the land and be stewards of the land for the benefit of future generations. And we have to appreciate those social and those ethical contributions of those farms. We're dealing with a fundamentally different kind of priority in managing the farms of the future if we don't reclaim the values of traditional family farms.
Corporate farms tend to steal words like family farm and sustainable, and they use those words, and a corporate farm may find a family farm and they put their buildings and facilities on there, and then they'll call it a family farm because they signed a contract with the farmer. So to me, it really comes down, I don't really care whether they're corporate or family. If they're taking care of the land the way somebody living on the land would, I can accept that. I just know that in general, corporate farms do not do that.
I think the family farmers, for the most part, are more attached to the land and the legacy they leave behind. The factory farms, while they are professional facilities, they're also there with one priority, and that's to make money. I think they are less attached to their community and less attached to the legacy. It's about economic-driven decisions.
There's no personality with it. There's no caring about the neighbors with a facility like that. With a family farm, they care because they have to live next to you, they have to be friends with you, and there's just no comparison.
We have a move toward purely economic organizations. It's a farm business rather than a family farm. And when you farm for the economic bottom line and you put a priority on that, then any consideration you have for the broader community and your neighbors and any consideration you have for the future is secondary to maximizing the profitability.
Those sows are in crates the entire time they're there. Except to walk from the farrowing barn to the gestation barn or whatever, they are in crates. They don't need any more space than that. So you need to think that there's 6,500 hogs in that space.
But if you have a large publicly held for-profit corporation, then the shareholders and managers may have strong social and ethical values, but you have to maximize the common values. And so the shareholders would be scattered around the world, different religions, different nationalities, different age levels, different backgrounds. The only thing they have in common is the desire to increase the value of their investment in that company. And so those are companies that are driven solely by the economic bottom line. They have no capacity to express the social and ethical values.
When a corporation comes in, the small people get left in the dust.
And as we watched the dairy get built, we saw that there was no erosion control, there was no protection for the land, and there was no protection for the water. And I got concerned, and I also was concerned about the location of the second dairy is at the top of the watershed for the Big Sioux.
Clearly we had grave concerns about our clean air, our water. There's just no way to even fathom the amount of pollution that would just be innate in the air particles that we and our animals would be breathing every day, that would be infected with E. coli, and there's a long list of pathogens involved.
My biggest concern on these big operations is the pollution and air quality and what they do. We have a little stream or creek that's about 2 miles north of here that I grew up fishing and swimming in. And it's polluted to the point where there's no fish in it. They don't recommend any physical contact with water because of these barns.
Among the gases that come out of it are ammonia and hydrogen sulfide, and methane, and nitrous oxide, and they've identified something like 60 different potential emissions that come off the odors that are go out and blown out in the community from those fans in those big operations where you have the manure that's in the pits as opposed to being out on the field as it would be on a typical family farm.
You're looking at their facility has 6,500 hogs, sows in it, and they produce 144,000 babies a year. The smell is absolutely atrocious. They have not been good neighbors. There are times when we cannot go outside. If the wind is from the southwest, basically we can't go outside.
Well, I'm a prisoner in my own home because when we do get the southeast winds, it comes into our home right in our farm and I can't open up the windows. And I do say several swear words. That's how we have to live, as a prisoner in our own home.
I can go outside and my nose will be plugged up within 10 minutes, and if I stay out too long, I'll get a headache that won't go away until I go in the house and have to stay in the house for a while. The health hazard is the main concern for me. It is built up on kind of a higher area and everything runs down to the creek. It's another downfall, a big environmental downfall. But
in addition to the health risks that come from the emissions of air, there's also significant health risk associated with the pollution of water. You can pollute the water with E. coli and various other biological organisms. I think public health is probably the Achilles heel of the large factory farming operations.
There are counties in Wisconsin that their groundwater is contaminated with E. coli. There are counties in, Iowa. The Des Moines is suing the different counties because of the high level of nitrogen in the water.
I hope I can stay around here as long as I can, can deal with that. Don't have any health issues that will keep me from it, so that's the plan.
When the gas from the facility rolls in, I notice it in I start coughing and your eyes tear. They tell me it's hydrogen sulfide. So, and my physician told me if I breathe it long enough, I'll sooner or later end up with a respiratory disease. So. My wife has got some health problems, my neighbor's got some health problems, and we've documented that. The doctors have come right out and said it's not good for us, to have that. They said, well, yeah, you're going to have a little smell, but there's something else in that along with the smell that drifts out. Well, for one thing, my son-in-law and daughter no longer want to come home to take over the farm after they get out of the military. I'm worried about our clean air. I know when I breathe the gas is what it does to me, and
some of those that live around here are got worse health problems than I do. I'm concerned about what's going to happen to our water, our drinking water. It used to be a wonderful place. I enjoy the outdoors, the fresh air and the sunshine, and that fresh air part is no longer with us anymore. So.
I'm start crying. We raised our kids here. We've put our heart and our souls into this place, and they're ruining it. That's the way it is.
This is the only place I want to be. But as a future for the farm to go on in my family, I'm going to say that went down the tube when they come. And I can't blame my kids for not wanting to come home here to live. So, unless they change their operation, put their biofilters on and use their pit ad, it's not going to be fit to live in.
South Dakota has no monitoring of the lagoons or of the manure pits. What's going to happen when there's a leak? When do you find out when there's a leak? I have a real concern with putting manure on tiled ground. We have no regulations for that, you know. We're not ready for this type of thing. You know, you tout it and you tout it, but we're not ready to, whether it's the environment, whether it's the neighborhood, whether it's the water, whether it's the air quality, to take care of this type of thing. We're just not ready for it. And I don't think we ever will be. Okay, so they come in, you've got some rules and regulations, but I'll guarantee you that your next legislative session, they're going to kind of go in and try and change those rules just a little bit so it's a little bit easier. Whether it's changing your mile order setback. Well, this is a half a mile now. Nobody's complaining. And they're going to ease their way in so that they basically can go any place that they want. And that's my fear. You don't want them to start. You just don't. If corporate farming is allowed, what can people expect? You will expect pig farms, a lot of them. You will expect turkey and poultry farms, or poultry farms, a lot of them. You will expect the big dairies. You will find that your ground that you probably do a lot of wheat and beans with is going to be turned into corn ground. It's going to be corn on corn on corn. You'll find that your rivers and your lakes are going to be polluted because if there's any tiling and they throw that manure on tiled ground, it's going to go into your rivers and your lakes. It's just going to get there.
We have clean air. We have clean water. Why do we have to have the pollution that other states have? What we have in North Dakota is actually something other states don't have. They want to strive to have what we have. And I'd like to keep that and preserve that. And the family farm is a part of that. It's an integral part of that.
I read through a whole pile of things yesterday that we received as an open records request that really left me to wonder if the very things that the North Dakota Farmers Union is challenging through this initiated measure process, you're not up against actually the state of North Dakota itself. It's really not just, Mark, in reading this, you're not fighting a big hog producer, you're not fighting Cargill or anybody like that. I think you're fighting the Ag Department, who kind of, as you just described, rammed this through right at the very end of the bill filing. Rammed this through as quick of a hearing as you can in the House. Held the hearings on days when they knew you couldn't get as many people there as what you had gotten in the past, so that civics and citizen government really couldn't play a role in this. I mean, what message do you think that sends to the current legislature?
Well, I'm hoping that they hear, assuming we can do as well as we believe we can in this fight, that they hear the citizens don't want changes like this. And I think the citizens need to go from here forward and at the forums, at the public meetings that they put on and their campaigns, and start asking these folks, are you really, really representing of the people that live in North Dakota? And if you're not doing that, what are you doing? What's your purpose, and so forth?
These companies are looking for a new place to go because they're running out of places to go in other states.
I didn't ask for it, and we tried to get it stopped, but it's like nobody listens to you.
Everybody said, well, you can't stop them. I said, well, maybe we can't, but we're going to try to.
Initially, we started out thinking it was probably just us against them, and as we started talking to more neighbors, there was a lot of people that did not like it, and so we started gathering evidence as to what other large feedlots did to communities. And as we gained more knowledge, we presented our knowledge to the county commissioners.
I think the positive things here is we're beginning to kind of reinvigorate rural democracy, and it's coming out of people rising up in opposition and expressing their concerns about what's happening in agriculture.
If they get this one hog farm, that's just one part of it and everything to go. That's just going to be that's the beginning of many, many more to follow. That's what happened in Minnesota, it happened in Iowa, it happened in South Dakota. All of those states now have gotten tougher on their laws, and North Dakota had better wake up and do that too.
If you don't want to spend the rest of your life in litigation trying to protect your clean air and water, please do the work now. Defeat the opportunity for CAFOs to just completely inundate and take over your clean air, your clean water. External costs will be a burden that you need to calculate. They're not going away. Once they're approved and they're started, your land values will decrease. Your opportunity to make a change is over. The time has passed. So North Dakota, the time is now.
We don't learn from other people's mistakes, and we should. Without a substantial change with how we locate them and monitor them, I think that South Dakota will very quickly go the way of Iowa, southern Minnesota, Wisconsin.
Don't allow them. You're going to have to fight them every step of the way to control odor or anything, and that's not going to help the community as much as they promise it will, especially a small community.
I would say if the town people don't get involved pretty soon and stop what's going on, all of a sudden they're going to find it besides them, and they're not going to enjoy it, I tell you that much. So. But the town people need to be concerned what goes on out in the country. Sooner or later it's going to affect them.
I wish people would look to the next generation and recognize the legacy that we have. I'm frustrated at our state officials and some of our water district officials that they seem to think poor water quality is a byproduct of ag, and that's okay. That's not true.
What can we do as just individual people out here? We seem to have so little power relative to them. And my response has always been that I think that each of us kind of has a purpose. We have a sense of what it is that we can do to better the situation that we're involved in.
We need to make sure that we get county commissioners elected who will take care of the people, not just take care of the corporations. They need to start taking care of the people. They need to start taking care of their communities, and I will continue to work towards that.
Don't let it happen in North Dakota. Do all you can to fight it. And as I said, give your politicians, give any director, give any representative, give them a heartburn, give them also, you gotta fight this. Your life will be ruined and you'll be a prisoner in your home.
It's made a fighter out of both of us. And it's made a fighter out of both of us because we know what it's done to us, and we don't want it to happen to anybody else. We don't want what happened to this neighborhood to happen to other neighborhoods.
The best thing that we can possibly do is figure out what we can do to influence our little piece of the world. It's not our job alone. We have to depend upon other people to find out what they can do and to do their share of it. And then together we can change it. That's the way change comes about, one person at a time.
Family farming and ranching are the foundation of North Dakota's economy and shared values. People who live in our state are part of a local community and who choose to be proud stewards of the land. Don't let corporations determine North Dakota's future. It's in our power to keep a system in place that has been working since 1932. We can shape the future of agriculture in North Dakota. Even more family farms and ranches instead of none.